Welcome to another exciting episode of Many Hats of Business, the podcast. I'm your host, Tanya Gordon, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. On this podcast, we explore the realities of business and the many hats we have to wear. I'll be speaking to some fantastic business owners about their journey to where they are today, in the hope that they inspire you to go through the tough times so that you get to relish the rewards having your own business can bring. Before we jump in, a quick reminder to subscribe, rate and leave a review if you enjoy what you hear. Your support means the world to us and helps Many Hats of Business, the podcast, reach even more curious minds like yours. Alright, let's get started. Get ready to be entertained, informed and inspired. This is Many Hats of Business, the podcast. Hi Kirsty, thank you so much for joining us today. If you can introduce yourself to the listeners, that'd be fantastic.
Thank you, Tanya. I'm Kirsty Carr. I am a business consultant and strategist. I am based up in sunny Staffordshire, not so sunny today, it's absolutely peeing it down. And I have been in business now around 4 years. Previously to that, I had 17 years in corporate.
So that is a perfect first question you've just led me on to, but why did you set up your own business? What was it for you?
So I have always felt like a square peg in a round hole in a working environment. So I have my own sense of what's fashionable. I have my own sense of what I think is professional. And those do not include wearing suits and stilettos, which when I started working was the whole expectation. Like I'm 48 now, so when I started working, that's what women who worked in offices dressed like because they had to. It was like power suits and all of that.
Nice.
Yeah, shoulder pads. And I've always been a bit of a hippie at heart, a bit casual, and I just never quite felt like I fitted in that sort of corporate environment. But more importantly, the corporate culture. The corporate culture of poor leadership, bad development, nepotism, favoritism, elitism, the gender pay gap, for example, socioeconomic stuff. So I'm from a working class background. I'm also a woman. I'm also overweight. So those are three big strikes for me in terms of progression and development. So it took me until 44 to get to a high level in my career. When I look at industry levels for men, they'd have been there 10 years before. If I had been, non-working class, I'd have probably been there 5 years before. So there was all this stuff that I was like, actually, I'm trying constantly to conform to somebody else's arbitrary standards of who I am as a person. And who I am as a person, I think is pretty shit hot, actually. I think I don't need to have a suit on. I think I don't need to have my hair straightened every day. I certainly don't need to have makeup on every day. I don't need to be a size 8. I also don't need to listen to people that I don't have any respect for because you've not earned it. And so I thought, do you know what, Kirsty? I think it's time we parted ways with corporate. And I think it's time we went off and did our own thing.
I can't believe hearing you say that you stayed as long as you did.
Because I loved what I did. Like, I absolutely loved my job. I loved the people that I worked with. I loved my team in my last job. And it was no like one thing. It was just that rising sense of you're selling your soul for a job that actually you're still just a number on somebody's book. It doesn't matter how high you are in the business. You're still only ever going to be an employee. And
you sort of, as you get higher, it'll start to feel different when you got there.
And it just didn't. But what I love about corporate is the structure, the way that they do things, and the discipline and the organisation and the process, and everybody knows what they're there to do. Everybody's working towards a common goal. Everybody knows what their role is in the business. Everybody knows how to contribute. There's sounding boards, there's project teams, there's support. All of that richness of corporate life, I absolutely love, and I think it's super necessary. Just couldn't fit into the corporate box anymore.
So with that, I assume you've tried to bring as much of that corporate stuff as you like across to your business now.
Absolutely. So There is only me in my business at the moment, so I'm still only me. I outsource a few bits and pieces at the moment, but I have a job description for myself. So if I do take people on, then I can say, this is the team structure, this is the org chart, these are the job roles, this is what I'm here to do. I need to give that person or whoever's coming into my team an insight into what I'm doing for the business. It's not good enough for me to just say, well, I'm the owner of the business. Okay, you're the owner of the business, Kirsty. Well, what does that mean? How is what you're going to do impacting me and what I'm going to do moving forward? Like, how are we going to work together? How am I going to complement you? What does that look like? I have trackers for everything. I have KPIs for everything. I track every penny coming in and out. I track cash flow. I track my return on investment. I have board meetings that, yes, is just me talking about stuff, but I document them. I have a 5-year plan because for me, that drives the best behavior out of me in terms of, this is where I'm going with my business. Okay, if I'm going there, what do I need to do here? Okay, well, I need to do this.
I don't think I need to ask you if you've got a business plan.
Yes. I have a business plan. I have a 5-year plan. I personally believe that every business should have a 5-year plan. And if that feels a little bit inducing, then okay, have a 3-year plan. But I don't believe that you will get to the point of success that you're looking for without having any idea of what you're going to do together. People talk about things in different ways. So in the online space, there's a lot of sort of spiritual business kind of practices, and we talk about manifesting and stuff. In my language, manifesting is, planning. So what is it? I want this. Okay, I want this. I'm going to manifest this. So what do I need to do in terms of doing the action to help me achieve that and get that manifestation? In my world, it's exactly the same thing. I just call it planning and activity, but that puts people off. But it's the same thing, essentially.
Yeah, it sounds so much nicer when you're manifesting it, isn't it? And I think the thing is, if you've got tools within you that are going to help you get to a place you want to get to, why would you not use them? And essentially, that's what you're saying. And then in doing that planning, if you realise you haven't got the tools that you need, find someone's help.
There it does. Then I'd be like, okay, you've done the plan, you've worked it backwards, you've worked out where your holes are. Okay, well, that's a gap analysis. Okay, so you've done a gap analysis on your business. You fully know where you've got leaky buckets, which is what the online would use. Okay, so what are you going to do there? Is that something you control? Is it something that you need help with externally? Is it something that you need to get a team in? Is it something that you outsource? Is it a learning? Is it a software? What is it that's going to plug that gap? So then we start to create a list of, well, these are things that I actually need in my business today because I can already see that they're causing me issues. It's not a case of, oh, that looks great and that looks great. I'm not sure if I need that, but I'm going to do it because everyone's telling me that I need that. Like, if you don't need it at that specific time, I would have to say, why are you working on that? That investment isn't a sound investment. And whether that's time, money, resource, whatever, that isn't a sound investment because actually your plans are already telling you over here what you need to do. So why are you looking for this shiny unicorn over here? That isn't going to solve these problems.
And we do, don't we? Like, obviously, we're both in that online area and you see a lot of it with the shiny object syndrome. And it's difficult because you're being sold to all the time, which is fine because people have businesses, so they need to sell stuff. So that's fine. But as a buyer, you've got to take some responsibility for whether you need it and whether that's going to make need it.
Definitely. And it all comes back to accountability, which is something that I preach a lot about. That everyone who works with me, I'm always like, okay, well, you are accountable. You're in the driving seat. You are the one making the decisions. If you're making your decisions without any kind of data analysis or any kind of look and feel of your business, if they're all heart-based decisions, at some point you are going to come a cropper. Like, I believe in heart and mind and body all working in one, and you can make decisions, but never just make them with one part. Like, try and bring them all together and have that case, heart-led, I feel this, but what from a practical perspective, and then what's intuitive to me, because your center of decision-making is the best that you've got available. It's yours. And I always say to people, if you see a shiny object, I would implore you to just step back, even if it's for 24 hours or 48 hours, and really think about why you want it what it's going to do for your business and what you think the outcomes will be. And if you do that, and in 48 hours, you don't feel the same level of excitement, or you're actually thinking, actually, now I'm thinking about my business, is that what I need? No, actually, it could help that bit, but I've got a bigger problem here. Then you're going to make a more informed decision because you've allowed yourself space to actually think about the data that's sitting underneath. Instead of going, oh, I need that, I'm going to spend £5 because there's some kind of bonus marketing or pain point marketing that's making me think that I need to spend it. Like, if it's not life or death, you've got time to wait to go, am I making a decision based on a frenzy that somebody's whipped up online? And I'm no objection to that, by the way, because we're all here to sell and I get it. Or are you making a decision based on what you actually need? And they are two very different things.
And like you just said, it's two very different things. And realistically, being the seller and the buyer is two very different things, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And you've got to like look at it in that different way. And obviously, you know, sometimes we've got friends and we like to support them and things as well, but you've got to look at what you're going to actually use in your business.
Yeah.
One of the things I particularly am trying to get far better at is making sure that if you're investing in something, you're going to actually implement it and have the time to implement it, because you're so busy often going on to the next thing. If you haven't implemented that properly, it's a complete waste of money and time.
Yeah.
You know, you might get more money, but you can't get your time back.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a decision, right? And again, it comes back to structuring your business. So if you're going to invest in something and they're saying you need to give this 4 hours a week, or you need to turn up to 2 calls, or you need to do this homework and you need to submit it, if you don't have a plan in place, or you don't time block, or you don't have great diary organization, or you work haphazardly and and you've got the freedom to do this, but freedom comes with a little bit of structure. If you're like, well, I don't work this day, but actually it's more important for me to go to Marks and Spencer's and have a slice of cake than dedicate the 3 hours that I need that day, you're never going to do it. I would say that there's probably only 20-25%, and I probably would love to do the data on this, but I would say if we take the 80-20 rule, I would say there's probably only 20% of people that ever fully complete a course or something that they're taking, because life gets in the way. And the thing is with anything, if it's not like vitally important and it's not showing up as the number one priority on your things to do every day, it will get pushed down and down and down and down. So again, I would challenge, was that enough of a priority in your business for you to warrant spending that money or time in the first place? Because if you're happy just as let it keep going down here and not complete it, there's a disconnect there in why you wanted it in the first place, because you're not putting the effort in to see it through.
And how you work with people, you work deeply with people, don't you?
Yeah.
I think, it's interesting because a lot of people, they invest with things at a lower level, but it has a lower effect. It has a lower accountability.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like you say, you become one of those statistics of it unfinished. Whereas when people come and do a day intensive with you, your result from that, regardless of the fact, you're close, you can go deep, but also just that accountability piece. If you take the time physically out to do it, you must get a far better result.
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason that I work one-to-one, and it's taken me a good couple of years to get to this point, and I've done some courses on how I could perhaps leverage what I do and make it available to a wider audience. But the fact of the matter is, doing that dilutes what I do in the first place. So I have all of this experience. It does make me an expert. I don't need anything else from the online world to tell me that I'm an expert. I'm confident in the history and the experience that I've got. What I would rather do, Alexa's just decided to join the party, by the way. She's suddenly perked up as I'm talking. Ignore her. And the reason that I do what I do and I do it one-to-one is because I'm so invested in that person getting the maximum return on 1, that day, 1, their time, and 3, their monetary investment, that I want them to have 100% of me. I don't want them to have to share that with somebody else. I don't want them to have to do a workbook and submit something 2 weeks later. I don't want any of that for them. Now, there is a place for that, and I want to be really clear. These things have their place in that client's journey, absolutely. And I've taken part in lots of them. I've taken out what I've needed. Some I've enjoyed more than others, and some have led me to think, actually, that isn't the way that I want to do business. But if someone's going to invest a full day with me and a few £1,000s, they're going to get absolutely the very best that I've got to give them, and they're going to get that on a one-to-one basis because I can meet them where they are at that absolute day and time. They will bring their absolute needs to that because they know they've got a finite amount of time to cover this off. So eyes and ears and experience, I want them to have the best experience and to go away with a solid 12-month plan just from spending that time with me. And I don't feel that I can give a group that same level of depth or quality.
It's interesting as well, isn't it? That so you've just said as well that some of the stuff you've done has helped you to know how you don't want to do things.
Yeah.
So at that point, there's value in that because it helps you to define what you want and why. Because sometimes when we start doing things, businesses evolve all the time, and that's how it is. Change is guaranteed in life, it's guaranteed in business. And I think people try, they sit and they try and figure out their niche and they try and figure out everything, and they really kind of hold back any progress because they're overthinking and not actually starting to do some of that. Some of the things you probably found that gave you the reasons for like, okay, no, I don't really want to do that. You couldn't have known without setting out there to go and try. And I think sometimes
100%.
People need to just start.
Yeah, I do believe that. Like if you are going to do something, then you do invest at something. Look, say we'll give it an arbitrary price point of 297 quid. If you invest in
that's a common price point, isn't it?
I know, because the internet loves 7 or whatever. I mean, there must be some psychology there somewhere. But I just feel it just feels like I'm shopping in a supermarket with all these 7s and 9s, if I'm really honest. I like to have a rounded number. Bat poo-poos that, but we'll just ignore the bat for a minute. If you're going to invest in something at 297 and you get so much value out of it, then brilliant. That's a 297 well invested. And it helps you and you can do something different. But if you spend 297 and you think, actually, I don't want to do it that way, and I didn't really get what I wanted out of it, I would ask you to reframe that, because what's actually happened is you've realised that something in there, some kind of teaching, some kind of framework isn't for you. What you've done is you've really shortened the research gap, and you've only spent 297 quid to get there, to know that, okay, that isn't for me, I'm going to do something else. Now I know that I don't want to work in that way. So I've literally gone 297 quid. The return is massive because I'm not going to spend any more money on that type of thing, and I'm not going to waste any more time on that type of thing. So there's always a return. I think the issue is because online bangs on about money so much, and every business should be making money. And if you're not, then you should have set up a CIC. Like if you're in a business, you should be making profit. It's as simple as that. But because the internet seems to be so heavily focused on the money, some of it vanity metrics, I'm very much in terms of turnover as a profit. Turnover is a vanity metrics. I'm interested in your profit because you don't get to keep that. So when you go to work and you get your take-home pay, that's the reward for what you put into that business. That's what your profit is. So stop talking about your turnover. It's lovely to have a high turnover. You may have a high turnover and a really low profit because your costs are so skewed in your business that you're paying it all out. Well, you may have what's perceived as a low turnover, but an 8% profit because you're really lean internally. Well, I know where I'd be. I'd rather be in the 80% profit camp. So because that's so focused
thing, isn't it? Because in the online world particularly, there are times when you invest back into your business more so to grow, but I think it's been normalised to such a point that people think they have to be permanently in that state. And permanently in that state, else you don't make any money.
When are you ever, if you're permanently in that state of chucking all of your money back into your business, and I agree, in order to grow, there needs to be a level of investment. But that's done in other ways. Like you can grow by having proper budgets in place for the activity that you know your business is going to be doing. I have a number of clients when I started working with them, not a single one of them had a budget for their business. So it was like, oh, I've got this in the bank and I think I'll spend that on that. And I think I'll spend that on that. I'm like, whoa, okay. We need to do this with a little bit of structure and a little bit of a plan. Let's work out from your spend, where is your money going? What do those buckets look like? What are you getting out of that? What are things that are fixed costs? What are things that are flexible? What is that? What have you got left? What do you want to make in a profit? What do you want to take home? What do you want for your life? Like, if you don't do all of that, the numbers are irrelevant, because if you haven't set it up to cover, I do an exercise of what do you want in life? So to do the things that you want to do. Okay, brilliant. How much would that cost you a month to live that life? Okay, so for example, that's £1,000. Brilliant. Okay, so how much is all your adult shit that you've got to pay for, like your mortgage and your food and your gas and all the stuff that we've all got to pay for? And there's no relevance of that. Okay, well, that costs me £1,000 a month as well. So you need to be going into your business. You don't just need £1,000 to do the adult stuff. You need £2,000 to start building the life that you actually want to live, which is the reward of being in business. Okay, so if you want that and then you want to invest, what's your budget for investing? Well, what does that look like? But I don't feel that people do that enough to go, how healthy is my business? What's the cash flow? Is that investment going to get me anything back in this year? Is it a short-term investment? Is it a long-term investment? But what I don't want to see is people just continuously investing in stuff because there's something else missing there. If you feel that you've got to go out and get every piece of learning off the internet, I would challenge that there's something fundamentally going on either here or here, that you are not confident in what you're delivering, that you are unsure about your direction of travel. There's something else going on. And I would rather you took some of that investment and did that piece of work on yourself rather than buying something else from somebody else that isn't going to help at that particular point in time.
And it will make such the difference, won't it, if you actually take that time out to do it. And it's short-term and long-term investment.
Absolutely. So then, yeah, it really is. Like, I have a coach now. A couple of years ago, I had to poo-poo the idea. But now I'm like, actually, I am the centre of this business. So I need to make sure that I remain healthy. I remain aligned. I'm working congruently to what my goals and objectives are. I have to look after me as well as the business, and I have to understand what's going on here. Is there a disconnect? Does stuff hold me back? I have terrible perfectionism syndrome, and it really does hold me back. And that comes from systematic conditioning in corporate, where everything that you put out has to be, because everything is scrutinized to within an inch of its life. If you make a tiny spelling mistake, if you have an incorrect formula in a spreadsheet, there will be somebody in corporate whose entire life exists just to nitpick what you're presenting to them, because that's what makes them feel better about themselves. So then you come into a different space and you're like, I've got to be perfect at everything. I can't tell you how much that held me back in my first year in business until I learned to let go of that. Because people, healthy humans, aren't looking for perfection.
It's amazing that, isn't it? Because you would assume having that level of perfectionism is a benefit. And it's funny, I've got a very high level of attention to detail. I've got a manufacturing business, which focuses on making engraved labels. So it needs to be right.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people spelling mistakes and things like that. So that hasn't helped me in so many ways because, like you say, I'm not quite a perfectionist, but my attention to detail is so high and it can hold you back. So like we were talking before, weren't we? I want to help people that want to be the best in their industry, whatever that industry is. And putting yourself out and saying, I want to do this, even just the fact of writing a post about that, the amount of times you're going to make sure that it's written perfectly because someone's going to pick it up and go, oh, you want to help people be the best, but your apostrophe's in the wrong place. It is real, isn't it? That sort of, so whatever our issue is that holds us back, we all have it. And like you say, having that coach just keeps you moving forward and keeps you accountable.
Yeah. And I would say work on that first. Work on that bit first. Work on you. Like, if you can identify there's something that you're struggling with. So this year, my investment is all around messaging, because that's the bit I struggle with. If I'm in a room with somebody and I have the opportunity to be in conversation with somebody, what I do lands far better than anything that I can write on social media. So I've had to really work hard at that. Now, I get leveled at me all the time. Well, you just do the boring shit. And I get that all the time. And now I'm like, yeah, if boring means being able to afford the new house that you want, or if boring means like taking the kids on holiday for 6 weeks in the summer and not having to worry about your income, or if boring means that, you know, you can take 25 grand every year out of your business in dividends, then I will carry on flying the boring flag for business owners. Like, I'm totally okay with that. But actually what I'm doing is helping you make smart business choices to support your version of success and your version of freedom and flexibility. You're not going to get that if you're not willing to put some work in down here. And that work is following the crowd on the internet, following what everybody else is doing. That work is, who am I? Who am I here to serve? How am I best going to do that? How can I make sure that my business runs in alignment? But more importantly, how can I make sure that my business is profitable, that it's sustainable, that it's got a growth plan, that it's working how I want to work it, I can grow it, I can bring people in, I can flex it, I can scale it. And when I want to exit, what does that look like? I don't want you to get to 55 and go, oh, I don't want this business anymore. What do we do with it? But your exit plan should be part of your strategy. It should be part of your business plan. Like you said, life changes, it ebbs and flows, and something might happen that you need to let go of that business. Like, let's get it into the most profitable place it can possibly be, so that exit is a benefit to you. Like, there's all these things to consider, and I don't believe that every business owner online considers them, because they're not shiny, they're not beautiful, they're not fun. No, that isn't fun, the nuts and bolts, but the result is absolutely fun, because you get to do what you want to do.
It's funny because this conversation is going in a very similar way to how the last one did. And, you know, people need to be paying attention to it. Just like, and now, guys, if you're listening to them in order, you've heard it twice. They're not both wrong. You know, like, these people know what they're talking about, and you need to look at this. And yeah, business is boring, some of it, but that's the bit that does make the difference, doesn't it? And I think that
it really
is
does.
Just so important. And all of this other shiny stuff you're seeing, if you're only doing that, it's just surface level, and you've got to do the deeper stuff. You said earlier that you had a plan, you have board meetings, you do all this. I mean, yes, some people that are early in their journey are going to hear this and go, what the hell? You know, it's like, they might be so far away from doing that. But have you got some advice on the basics that you need as a minimum to do that? Because I'm working with a guy at the moment, one of my want-to-works, and their business is essentially growing really fast. So everyone thinks, oh, well, that's a nice problem to have, because you're getting loads of sales, which is fine. But there is such thing as growing too fast, and that's the same thing. So we're having to put in a lot of this stuff that wasn't there because they didn't have time for it. And they were busy delivering the service. And, you know, some people don't have that problem because they're always the ones looking for sales and things. But it is, you know, it is a real problem that people have. And it's just, everyone has different problems in business, and it's just identifying them to work on those, like you said. But there is, some people think you can kind of get away with winning it till 6 figures, 100 grand, and that's where you stop. Essentially, the earlier, in my opinion, the earlier you stop winging it and getting a plan, the more in control it all feels, doesn't it? And whilst you can bring it to 6 figures, essentially, your burnout likeliness is far higher.
Yes, absolutely. Like, the majority, again, I don't know the maths, but just looking out there in the world, there are a lot of people who will reach the 6 figures by themselves, and I will celebrate the crap out of that, because it's a massive achievement. That is not to be undervalued or underrated or underplayed by any stretch of the imagination. But I also guarantee that with that will be the growing pains that you have felt, which is overwhelm, isolation, wanting at some point to just kick the desk over and go back to Tesco's, not understanding your numbers, having really poor cash flow, not being able to take money out of the bank. And I know this because I've been through them. So just because I've come out of a corporate world, and yes, I am the expert in strategy and all of that stuff, I'm still a business owner. So my growing pains are going to reflect everybody else's because it's the same model. It's the same challenges. But what I don't have is any concern about my direction of travel, how I'm going to get there, the granular detail, my numbers or any of that, because I've been very set from the beginning that would be, my focus would be how healthy is my business? And when I talk about business health, how healthy is it holistically? Have I got plans in place for growth? Have I got a pipeline? Do I know what I'm doing marketing wise? Okay. Is my budget healthy? Is my profit healthy? That's because of who I am. And I would say to anybody, starting out in business, 20k turnover, 50k turnover, it's never too late to start putting some structure into your business. And I agree with you, Tanya, like the earlier you do this, what you're trying to do is create healthy habits in your business. That's all it is. It's healthy habits of going, have I once a week done all my bookkeeping or loaded all my receipts? Yes, tick. Do I know what invoices are outstanding? Do I know when I can invoice for this next piece of work? Do I know what my annual costs are? Do I know what my monthly costs are? Do I track what's coming in and out of the business? Have I set myself KPIs? Like, have I done those 200 cold outreach things that I said I was going to do this month? Have I got a spreadsheet that's tracking them? Because you can only manage what you measure. So if you visually have something that says, like, these are the things that you're committing to do for your business on a monthly basis, and you just go through and go, yeah, done that, done that, done that, done that. It's healthy habit forming, and it will just become second nature to you to do. So then when you look at periods of growth, and when you can see that actually, I, as a single person in my business, am pretty much reaching capacity, I've got two routes to go here. I can either start to look at the group side of things and the monetizing more evergreen, more groups kind of programs. That isn't where I sit. So then I look at, okay, how do I want to work that's still in line with how I set this business up, that still delivers the very best for my client, but also helps me achieve my plan, but gives me the freedom that I need to have and need to feel in order for me to feel that my business is successful. Okay, well, that is immersive days, one-to-one at a higher price point for a higher delivery. So then what I'm doing is I'm taking all that data that I've got underneath me, and at every step of the way, I'm making an informed decision based on the facts that my business is telling me. That's all there for the taking. And the reason that I know that they're the facts and the data is because I've taken the time to look at them. Everything that you need as a business owner to make a decision is within your gift. It's whether you choose or not to work out how to uncover that and then turn that into tangible data for you to make an informed decision.
I was just going to pick up on that word, and then you've said it again, but it is that informed decision, isn't it? You feel like everything's got to be a rush, but actually taking a step back and being more thoughtful about your decisions and making them informed decisions will make the biggest difference in your business. And therefore, yeah, at the end of the day, we have businesses to build a life that we want. And it saddens me when people earn less than they did in their corporate role, and quite often they're working more hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been there. Like, I will honestly say I've been there. Like, the first couple of years, I've never worked so hard. But I knew in my own plan when I set the business up that I wouldn't turn any profit until year 3. I exactly hit profit in year 3. And I knew that because of how my business model was set up, how much I wanted to work and how many contracts I could or couldn't take on. So when I first went into business, I literally did what every corporate person does and replicate their job outside of corporate and do the same thing, right? Because that's what we know. And it became very clear very quickly that wasn't a route that I wanted to stay on. But it was COVID. So what I did was I thought, okay, Kirsty, this is what the world looks like today. These are all the macro and micro market factors that are going to have a difference on what you're doing. They're going to have an impact on what you're doing. So actually, what you need to do in order for your business to survive this next couple of years of COVID is you need to pull on all the levers that are out there for you to pull on. Now, they may not have been in your original plan, but there's massive things happen to the world, and that plan's gone out the window, Kirsty. The first 2 years of what you put there, it's irrelevant now. You've got to pivot. You've got to find a way to do things where you're still going to get the money in. I leveraged the heck out of my corporate then. I made a lot of money working with other corporates, because that's where I knew that I would still get money in, I'd still be able to do all the things that I wanted to do, and I'd still have, it would give me the time and space to think about what I really wanted from that business. So I'm all for leveraging stuff, and I see, you know, people going, oh, you shouldn't get a part-time job if you're business. I don't agree with that. If you need a part-time income that helps you feel safe and secure in order for you to spend some time building that business slowly but surely, steadily, with a plan and some structure, then that's a lever for you to achieve what your overall goal is. We shouldn't be poo-pooing that. If somebody needs that at that particular time, it's just another revenue stream. We look at it very literally. That's just a way to get money into the business that gives you time to then create something else the other side.
Yeah, it's a really good way of looking at it as well, isn't it? Because people would potentially feel like, oh, I'm a failure with it. And also it's that thing that selling out of scarcity is very difficult. Yeah. It's a very different place to be.
Yeah.
By doing that, you've removed that straight away. And actually, all of a sudden, you know, you are creating that time and breathing space, which is so important, isn't it?
And you show up in a far better way because you've nailed one of your massive issues. And if you look at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's all about safety and security at the top. Those are fundamentally our requirements as humans. So we're always going to act in a way that secures that safety and security. I would say to you in the early stages of business, if that safety and security comes from you still working 20 hours a week for somebody else, that is absolutely fine. Like, give yourself there's power in the pause, give yourself a break, give yourself and say, okay, I'm doing this for this. It means that, okay, in 6 months' time, I want to have had all this sorted under here. So I want to have a funnel working. I want to have my sales pipeline set up because I'm going to use the time the most effectively. So that when I go into this, now I'm selling from the heart all the services that I want to sell. I can hit the market like this because not only have I taken some money in, I've used that time wisely, strategically to set the business up in the way that I want it to be, which means I now can just focus on delivery because it's going to naturally grow under here. And when I want to scale, all of my structures and processes and procedures are in place and I can scale up with them. Yeah, and that's what I think is really important.
Yeah, I think that's really useful for people to hear. So thank you for that. Is there anything that you wish someone had told you earlier when you went into business?
Oh, anything I wish someone had told me earlier. I was equipped for it being a bit up and down. I wasn't equipped for COVID.
Was anyone equipped for COVID? It's, you know,
I think it's the fact that it will be, and you have to be prepared for this. Like, however stable and secure we build, and as long as we've got solid foundations, like, we can ride the storm, but it will be forever a roller coaster ride. Like, there is very little periods of, you know, before this. It just doesn't work that way because of a couple of things. You know, if we own businesses, we tend to be more in the entrepreneurial spirit, some more entrepreneurial than others, because I think that's a spectrum in itself. And I think there's a misconception that, you know, as a business owner, you've got to be completely reinventing the wheel every 5 minutes. You don't need to be doing that. And you don't need to have batshit crazy ideas either. You just need to have a service that somebody wants to buy, essentially. But that roller coaster doesn't ever stop. Like, you won't get off. And I think, you know, that's another reason for protecting your business, is because it's about protecting you and your energy as well.
Yeah, that's really good advice because, like you say, it is a roller coaster. That
it is.
You can't, you know, you feel like you want to get off sometimes, but you can't.
You can't. Like, there's no slamming the brakes. Like, you're going round again, and it's like, okay, I'm going to use this tiny flash to just breathe, take a pause, gather my momentum, gather my thoughts, and then we'll go again. Like, it is relentless. You aren't resilient already. I would say think about how you can increase your resilience. Like, what would you need to put in place to help you with that? You know, is that something that you would invest in with a coach to help you work on your resilience? Is there something that you can do to, you know, put boundaries in place and that kind of thing? And also, accountability is massive. Like, you have to be willing to 100% die on your sword for your business and the decisions that you make. It's as simple as that. And if you aren't willing to do that, I would challenge you owning a business in the first place.
That's interesting as well, isn't it? Because if you decide to grow a team, essentially they're all answering to you and they're all looking to you all the time for advice and for you to take that decision. And yes, you want to be building it up so that they can start taking accountability for their decisions and make some of those decisions for you. But if you grow a team quite large and you haven't got that, it is a fast track to burnout.
Hard. It really is. Because you'll still be doing everything. And, I have a saying that in order to grow, you have to let go. And that's delegation. Like if you need to put a team in to grow, you've got to accept that they're not all mini yous. They're not all going to think and operate in the same way that you do. But what you do have to do, it's your responsibility as a leader to set things up in a way where they understand what's expected of them. They understand how your roles complement each other. They understand what they're there to deliver. They're aligned to the company goals and objectives and values, etc. Once you start getting a team, you have to move away from your personal values in your business because your personal values may not relate to your team. So you start to then move over into, okay, well, what are the company values? And you have to leave some of your personal stuff behind. Like if your personal values are like mine at the moment, because it's only me, my personal values are, honesty to myself first and foremost. Like if I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it for anybody. My goals and objectives are I want to be a traveling CEO. My team are going to be like, well, that's lovely, Kirsty, if you want to swan off for 6 months of the year, but how are you going to set the business up so that we can manage in that absence for you? What touch points have we got with you? When are we likely to see you? Like technology-wise, who are you going to put in place as a decision maker? Who is going to be the emergency contact? It opens up such a different conversation. And if you're going to grow in that way, you have to be ready to lead in that way. And not all business owners are natural born leaders.
I was going to say that.
And a skill set for that would be then finding the people that are the leaders that you can trust and put in that level that then runs the team. And again,
came from a position where you were the top of the team, weren't you, at the end of the day? But so many people go into business and they haven't, leadership and management are different anyway. They still aren't natural born leaders. And if they haven't got management experience on top of that, or not enough of it at a high enough level, you really are setting yourself up for an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people who are in business, and if they lean more on the entrepreneurial side, they don't necessarily want to be making hiring and firing decisions. They don't want to be running, team meetings and doing people's development plans and all that kind of stuff, which, by the way, if you have a team, should be the very minimum of what you're doing with them. Again, the amount of people that I work with, that their teams have no job descriptions, their teams have no PDPs, they have no personal development reviews, they have no objectives of their own. There's a whole myriad of stuff to go through there when it comes to people. But, if you can't do it yourself, then again, that's a gap. So you would do your analysis and go, okay, I want to be a lead. I want to grow the team. Okay, I want to act as the CEO. I want to put a trusted advisor in here that's going to lead to these people that's got great management skills. So then I would be looking at the corporate world and thinking, okay, who out there is doing a great job? Who do I know in my circle of friends that's employed that's doing a great job? Like diversity, the same way as in a corporate, you try and build a team that's diverse, so you've got different ways of thinking and doing and acting and feeling and presenting and all of that kind of stuff, because that's the only way to get innovation. You have to look at that for your business as well. If you can't provide that, then bring somebody in who can. They may come from a corporate background. They may already be in a leadership position. Again, it's what's right for your business. How's your business going to grow? If you know not with you being the leader because you don't want to deal with people's stuff, that's something that you have to think about.
Yeah,
and it's okay not to want to be the leader. Like, it's absolutely okay, but just be honest with yourself.
Yeah, I think that's so important, isn't it? Because like you say, you've set up the business because you wanted to have that freedom. That's also the freedom to choose the bits of the job you don't want to do. But just because you're not doing them, like someone else has to, it needs to.
Yeah, exactly. Everything needs doing. Like if you want to grow and be taken seriously, and more importantly, you want your business to be sustainable. And by sustainable, I mean it's still here in 5 or 10 years' time. You have got to look at that like other big businesses. They did not get to where they are just by going on a Monday morning. Oh, Tanya, we've got this on this week. What shall we do? I think we'll just do a bit of this and a bit of that. Off we go.
Imagine.
Lovely. That's lovely, Tanya. However, that's not going to get us to where we want to get to. Everybody in this team, all of your colleagues, all of your outsourced people, all of your suppliers that you work with, all of the service providers that serve into you, they all need to understand what it is that you're doing. You cannot, and I will die on this sword, you cannot have a business that you intend to grow to the 150, the 250, the 300, the 7 figures if you don't operate it as a offline business would, with the right departments, with the right strategies, with the right people, with the right behaviours, all of those things. There is no big business out there that's successful on wing and a prayer. I hate to break it to you, but I'm happy to be the one that does.
Yeah, you just come along and burst the bubble.
But I'm all for the bubble, but like have the bubble and know that the bottle's like always full underneath it, so that all the bubbles, it's not just a burst bubble once and gone. You can carry on blowing them to your heart's content.
Yeah, no, I know that. Have you got any things you do that help with motivation, momentum, and time management that might be something that other people can use? Because obviously a lot of what you've said is really high level and they might be really scared now. But if there's some basic thing that's like, from a time management point of view.
So I time block everything. So, and I always have done. So my calendar is time blocked. It's color coded. Now that's internal stuff. That's client stuff. That's operational stuff. That's financial stuff. So my methodology is based around every business in the world, regardless of size, structure, turnover, profit, whatever it is, industry, can be distilled into 4 key areas. So that is people, products, process, and profit. That's it. Like that is your business. So I only work on those lines. So if I'm having a people day, like people will be like me, my clients, my service providers, my supply chain, any invoices that I need to get out, anything that has a human touch point. I'd be like, okay, well, I'll colour code that and that's the day for doing that. Anything where I'm perhaps working on products or doing market research, I give it another colour code. But I time block, like I can't stress how important time blocking is to protect you. And don't put meetings after meetings after meetings in. You need to give yourself a good half an hour after every meeting, because your brain needs time to recover from the conversation you just had, recess, and then go into the next conversation. I guarantee you, if you are constantly just on calls, by the 3rd or 4th one, you are working on autopilot. Your brain already knows automatically what responses need to come out of your mouth, and you're not getting the best out of that interaction at all. The second thing is, and different for manufacturing because it is more reactive than, a service-based industry. And I get it because I started in manufacturing, so that's why I'm practicing this. But if you are in a service-based industry, again, you do not need to be answering an email the minute it comes into your email box. Nothing irritates me more than people sending you an email and then expecting a reply in 10 minutes. No, your sense of urgency and importance and priority is not mine. I'm responsible for mine. You don't get to dictate that. So I only check my emails at 3 points in a day. Once when I log on in the morning, once when I come back after lunch, and once before I wrap up. So if I miss anything at any point, I've caught it all at the end of the day. If I was to sit, and a lot of people in business do this, if I was to sit with my emails open every day, all day, every day, I'd get nothing done because I would just literally be in there answering people. Why are you rushing to answer them? Why, if they're not, I'm going to say something now that's controversial, but if they're not bringing you money or new business or whatever that is, you do not need to answer them within 30 seconds of that email dropping into your inbox. That's not life. That's not how it works. Like, you're just causing yourself more and more overwhelm. And what you're doing is turning your role as a business owner into a transactional role where you're spending 60% of your time in the admin, in the this, that, and the other, and not on actually doing the stuff that is going to bring you the business in or grow your business. So time block, emails 3 times a day, and tracking. Think of something in your business that you're struggling with at the moment, or you don't have like a full 100% line of sight to. Put some kind of measurement in place. Every week I'm going to check my accounts. Every week I'm going to see how many sales calls I've done. a week, I'm going to know what's gone in my Stripe account. I'm going to habit form. So just take one thing at a time, work on that for 30 days, and then try and introduce another thing that you're going to do. And then you'll work on the 2 things for the next 30 days, and then try and introduce a third thing that you're going to measure. And then you'll work on the 3 things for 90 days, and so on and so forth. So no massive steps. My motto in my business is small tweaks for big leaps. You do not have to make giant steps. The devil is in the detail. It's in the tiny things that you do. It's in the marginal gains. It's all about what can I do today that's going to make tomorrow look better.
Thank you. I mean, they're brilliant tips, aren't they? If, like, hello people, even if you've like missed all the other bit, just take that last few minutes and do it. You will not regret it. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been brilliant.
Thank you for having me.
What I like to leave people with is a book recommendation, because, you know, we said about investing in yourselves, didn't we? Doesn't always have to be about, I mean, obviously you might need to buy the book, but you might have an Audible subscription. It might be fine. But what would you suggest is a good book for people to have a look at?
So I'm going to suggest something slightly different. So as much as I like to outsource things that aren't my wheelhouse and I'm not the expert in, I do like to have a general sort of understanding of things. And I used to work with a marvellous lady who, brilliant at what she does, she's a marketeer. And she had actually written a book on marketing to help business owners, like what actually is marketing, what are the different types of marketing. And it's a really cool little book. I don't know if it'll allow me to show you it without blanking it, but it's called Marketing. It's like a pocket guide. We laugh because it came out as a really massive pocket guide.
Yes, you have to have a big pocket.
There. But it's called Everything You Need to Know About in a Bite-Sized Pocket Guide. It's by a lovely lady called Tanya Gordon. You can look her up on LinkedIn. The book's on Amazon and it's just called Marketing. And it's really helpful. Like, even if you are outsourcing your marketing, it just gives you a real, like, good view of what actually marketing is and how it can help you in your business. And it's really easy to read.
Well, I'll get the link and I'll put it underneath for people so they can find it. But yeah, I mean, my business is Many Hats of Business, and it isn't that you're supposed to wear all the hats. It's supposed to be that you get an understanding of all of the hats so that you can outsource effectively, because it just makes such a difference, doesn't it, if you've got some understanding?
You can't outsource effectively and know who to partner with if you don't actually know what you're giving them to do. You have to have a level of, well, knowledge and accountability for that, because ultimately, even if you outsource stuff, it's still your accountability. They're only acting on what you're telling them to do.
Yeah, no, it's just so useful for people to realise. And when I first started outsourcing, I stopped for a while because I hadn't got the work there. I hadn't made the time to figure out what was going to be done. And I had a break across the summer that extended for a while. And I think it was October then last year we got going again, because it was just that thing of, she can't do, well, I haven't given her. So, you know, it's that thing, isn't it, of just being aware, because also there's nothing more annoying than going to do something, not having been given all the information, not really knowing what the goal is timeline-wise or standard-wise, or, you know, everything. And I think it's that thing of, think about how you like to work and how you would find it if someone did that to you, and then don't do it to someone else.
Yeah, I mean, the whole of the topic of onboarding, whether they're an internal person or an external, onboarding is an art form, isn't it? I think you'll agree. I mean, you'll know that's in your manufacturing. Getting good people on board starts with how you bring them in. So you're setting the tone. So it goes back to, like, if you're outsourcing, know what it is that you expect them to do. If you're bringing them in, like, they need to have the stops and they need to have all the processes and they need to know how it fits in. I mean, I could go on about it forever, but the thing is, for me, everything in business has got a gold thread, and it's just about learning where to weave that through to get you the maximum impact and return for you and everybody that your business affects.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. So thank you so.
Thank you.
And I'll say goodbye, and I hope people have enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Many Hats of Business, the podcast. Your support means a lot to me. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with your business friends, as they may find it useful too. If you hit the follow button, you'll be first to know when a new episode lands. See you next time.